All right, everybody, welcome to Survive to Thrive. Happy Tuesday, and let's get started. So I'm having a conversation with a real estate agent yesterday, and they're struggling. Like a lot of real estate agents, they're struggling. And what's interesting is I did some research on the local market where I work. I'm in the Tampa Bay area, and only 18% of the 59,000 agents that are in our local MLS here have sold 10 or more homes in the last 12 months. So here's what I know. A lot of real estate agents are struggling. Now, what this agent said to me, and I asked them, what's your biggest challenge? And they said, I don't have a plan. I don't have a blueprint. I don't know what to do. I just need somebody to show me this is the path to get where I want to go. And I mean, they're a part of a brokerage, and real estate brokerages, we join them for a number of different reasons. One of them is training and coaching. And it's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It's just, it is what it is. And I also understand from the broker's point of view how difficult this is. And it's difficult because you want to be able to provide value and support. And sometimes the agents that you're leading aren't plugging in to the support that you are offering. So what's the answer? I don't know. But here's what I do know. I need to slow down for a little bit and talk about the path, talk about the recipe. So if you were going to bake a cake, you would do what? You'd follow the
Betty Crocker recipe.
There you go, my friend. Now, what happens if you put 99% of the ingredients in that cake? Are you going to get the same results as you would if you followed it exactly the way you're supposed to follow it?
Nope.
What if sugar is one of the ingredients, Kelly, and you left out sugar? How's that cake?
It tastes like shit.
That's the title of my next book. So, joking. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the path. Okay. Now, this is a work in progress. In other words, when you see the final edition of this come out, which it's going to, because I'm going to put it in print and then I'm going to give it away. And when you see that, if it changes from what you're hearing today, don't be surprised. Okay. Now, what I would say, ingredient number one, you have to have a morning routine. In other words, you have to be focused on self-improvement before you focus on business success. It starts here. And so many people leave this out. And why is this so critically important? Well, because 90% of success is mindset. So what are you doing to improve your mindset? Garbage in, garbage out. So if you're feeding your brain garbage, you're watching the news, you're spending hours and hours and hours on social media, it's garbage. And what is that going to do for your mindset? I don't know about you, but I'll use social media for an example. I find myself, when I'm spending more time on social media, I find myself angry. It's not helping my mindset, it's hurting my mindset. Now we can have a whole conversation on that. In other words, if you're listening to this on YouTube, or if you're a part of watching this on Facebook Live, a good question that you would ask yourself is, John, what are you angry about? I could have a whole conversation about that. But what I find, and I think most of you would agree with me, when I start my day by spending an hour a day on social media, it's an energy suck. It's not creating energy. So self-improvement, read books. And I'm cool on audiobooks. It's fine. It's great when you're driving. It's great when you're walking, but otherwise you should have a book in your hand and a highlighter in the other hand. You've got to spend time plugging in spiritually. Whatever faith your faith is, plug into that. For me, I'm going to read the Bible. I'm going to pray. I'm going to meditate because I'm feeding myself spiritually. One word on that. So most people would say, well, I'm a human being having a spiritual experience, right? It's the opposite. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. Feed that spiritual part of your life. You've got to exercise, get moving, get your blood moving. It's going to create endorphins. It's going to cause you to have a better mental attitude. PMA. Work on your PMA. Positive mental attitude. This is the first ingredient. Now, if you leave this out and you have 99% of the rest of the recipe, you're not going to get the same result. It's like baking a cake and leaving sugar out. Like Kelly says, it tastes like stuff. Tastes like shit. Okay, let's just call it what it is. Now, the next ingredient is I'm going to time block. I'm going to get my calendar and I am going to time block my big rocks. The only thing that's going to go in my calendar are big rocks. So if you were to look at my calendar, I'm going to show you what I use. If you would look at my calendar, it's going to look like this. Okay. I have time blocked for the things that matter. What are those things? All right, cool. You're going to time block your 80-20. Now, what that means is we know that 20% of what we do creates 80% of the results. And if I'm a real estate agent, the question is, well, John, what are the 20%? Cool, gotcha. Number one is lead generate. Lead generate, if you're in the real estate business, it's your number one job. Now, I think one of the biggest challenges, Kim, that real estate agents have had in the last 5 years that got into the business in the last 5 years is they had success. They might have had a lot of success, largely because the market was on fire. And you would talk to agents, and agents who've been in the business for a long time, and you would ask them, how do you find business? What are you doing in order to find buyers who want to buy a home and sellers who want to sell your home? And I would hear things like, well, business just comes to me. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, I don't do that lead generation stuff. I don't prospect. I don't knock on doors. I don't call expireds. All of my business is by referral. Love that. Now, is it passive referral or is it active referral business? Well, what do you mean? Are you working your database in order to build relationships so that you're top of mind with everybody in your sphere of influence and all of your past clients? So when they think of real estate, they think of you. Are you asking them, hey, just out of curiosity, who do you know that's thinking of selling their home in the next 6 months? Or are people just calling you? And one of the biggest challenges we've had, Kelly, is a lot of real estate agents have been living by people are just calling me. And when the market shifts like it is, those calls stop. So if you've been in the business for a while and you experience this, you could say, John, I get it. Preach, you're telling the truth, because my phone ain't ringing and I'm freaking out. So what does lead generation mean to you? Well, to me, lead generation is identified by, I'm going to talk to 20 people and I'm going to schedule 2 appointments a day, whichever comes last. And I'm not going to stop until I've had 20 conversations and I scheduled 2 appointments. That's lead generation for me. Now, whatever it is for you, that's awesome, but identify it. If it's 5 conversations a day and 1 appointment, or 5 conversations a day and 1 new lead, that's fine. Just remember, whatever you say it is, it's a math equation. It's going to lead to a result, and whatever you define is going to define your level of success. You want more success, you're going to have to ramp it up. All right, so 20%, first thing on that list is lead generation. It's first for a reason, because until lead generation is done, nothing else matters. Until lead generation is done, everything else is a distraction. The second dollar producing activity, and if you're a part of Rockstar Agent, Rob calls them DPAs, all right? So the second thing that's a dollar producing activity for you is appointments. Appointments with buyers and sellers. Face-to-face appointments or Zoom appointments, which are face-to-face. It's appointments. You're meeting with buyers, you're meeting with sellers, you're going to look at that for sale by owner, you're going to look at that expired listing, or you're meeting in your office with a buyer who's interested in buying a home, you're having a buyer consultation. It's appointments. The third thing that's on that 80-20 list is take seller listings. If you are in the real estate business, you should be focused on seller listings. Seller listings drive everything else. Here, think about it like this. You could either spend $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month or $10,000 a month on buyer leads, and it would work. You're going to get leads. You're going to convert a certain percentage of those to close sales. Or you could take 4 or 5 listings every single month, and you won't have to spend $1 on buyer leads, because those listings will create buyer leads. So even if you're going to work with buyers, you love working with buyers, take seller listings in order to drive more buyer business. The fourth thing that makes up that 80-20, the 20% that creates 80% of the results, the 20% that matters, is write offers and negotiate contracts. And then number 5, practice and role play your scripts. If anybody were to ask me, what's the one thing that I could do in order to get into production faster? What's the one thing that I can do in order to raise my level of production? It would be master your scripts. Know what to say. When you're talking to someone who's thinking of selling their home, know what to say in order to convert that conversation to an appointment. When you go on a listing appointment, know what to say in order to walk out the door with the listing agreement in your hands. Learn, practice, drill, rehearse the responses to every objection you've ever heard, so that next time you hear that objection, you know what the response is. So the 5th thing that creates production for you, that makes up your 20%, is practice and role play your scripts. All right. The next thing that I would do is I would start by building my database. This is your path. This is your roadmap. This is the recipe that you're going to follow in order to build a successful real estate business. So you want to build your database, your CRM. Now start by making a list of everybody that you know. Get into your cell phone and look at all of those contacts in there and ask yourself, does this person know me? Do they like me? Would they potentially do business with me? If they knew of somebody who was going to buy or sell the real estate, would they refer them to me? Monica just walked in the room. I always get nervous when that happens.
You left your phone.
Like, what did I do? All right. Where was I? Make a list of everybody that you know. Look at your cell phone. I was looking for it. There it is. That's why she came in here. Look at your cell phone. Ask yourself, does this person know me? Do they like me? Would they potentially do business with me? All right. Don't leave anybody out. One of the ways that we teach real estate agents to create this list is start with the alphabet and look at A's. Do you know any accountants that should be in your database? All right. Go to the letter C, for example. Do you have a chiropractor that you know that should be in your database? All right. Think of everybody that you know that should be in your database. Who do you know from where you worship? Who did you go to school with that should be in your database? Your family, guys. Think of everybody that should be in there, people in your neighborhood. You live in a neighborhood. Is everybody in your neighborhood in your database? I know the answer to that. It's no. Now, if I asked you, should they be? The answer to that would be yes. And then if I said, what would be the value of that? Oh my gosh, it would be huge. Just research your neighborhood. How many homes are being sold every year in the neighborhood you live in? How many of those homes are being sold by you? I guarantee you, if there's 20 homes being sold a year in your neighborhood, 20 of them are not with you. Maybe not any of them. Now, if I walked around that neighborhood and I go to Kelly's neighborhood, for example, and I knock on a door and I say, hey, do you know Kelly? How many of them would say, yes, I know her. She's a realtor. She's with EXP. She's amazing. She's a rock star. She gets all of our business. Kelly, I'm not picking on you. You just in my line of sight.
That's okay.
Okay. So build your database. Now, once you've created that list, you've got a list of everybody that would be a part of your sphere of influence. You're going to load them into your database. And then you're going to put them on a smart campaign in order to communicate with them over time. Now, whatever CRM you're using, whatever CRM you will use is the right CRM for you. So one of the most common questions I get is, which is the right one? And the answer is whichever one you'll use. Now, I use KV Core, and for me, I love KV Core. Now, for those of you who are thinking, gosh, that's just too much work. It's hard. You got to create these smart plans. Now, hear what I said, because I want you to create smart plans. Do not use the smart plans that come with the CRM. Those canned smart plans don't work. Create a smart plan. Oh my gosh, John, that's a lot of work. No, it's not. You can create an email drip campaign using ChatGPT in less than 5 minutes. Then all you have to do is go into your CRM and load that smart plan so that you are communicating with everybody that you put into your database in a systematic way. If you read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, there's 4 laws of the database. They are: build a database, feed it every day. That means add people to it every day. Communicate with it in a systematic way, service all the leads that come your way. That was 20 years ago. It's still true. So you're going to build your database. You're going to put everybody that you put in there on a smart campaign in order to communicate with them. What are you sending them? Valuable information, market updates, interesting articles on the real estate industry, interesting articles on the economy, investment opportunities. Just make sure you're adding value when you're communicating with them. Now, how should you communicate with them? Email, text message, social media, letters, snail mail to the mailbox, and phone calls. The phone calls are a critical part of this, but build your database. Right. Believe it or not, it's 9:25. And how much of this plan have I covered so far? Mindset, time block. Focus on the 20% when you're time blocking. Build a database. I'd say I'd covered maybe 10% of the recipe. 10% of the plan. The beginning 10%. Starting with a foundation, super important. If you're going to build a 10-story building, you don't start on floor number 5. Start with a foundation. This is a foundation to a business that you're building. That's the foundation. Do that. Start there. And when we get together again on Thursday, tomorrow's script and role play practice. When we get together on Thursday, we'll pick up from there. All right, guys, talk to me.